Welcome to a special series on the CultureCon podcast.
These episodes feature conversations originally recorded live at CultureCon 2024 and first released on the People Forward Network's podcast, Fringe.
The response to these interviews was so strong, we wanted to bring them home and share them directly with you.
You'll hear real stories, insights, and inspiration from CultureCon speakers, sponsors, and attendees captured in the moment right at the conference.
Let's dive in.
Hey, it's Nikki Llewellyn Gregory back here at CultureCon live in Madison. So excited to be here. And I do have to say, my guest that I'm thrilled to be here with at People Forward Network, we work with all of our shows on our network to have dream guest lists. So all of our hosts, they send us the list of the dream guests that they would love to have on their show. Well, Gianna doesn't know that behind the scenes for months, there's a person on our team that a number of people will love to hear this shout out. Stephanie worked to secure Gianna for one of our shows being at work with Andrea Butcher. And it was just so fun to be able to run into you last night at the kickoff, Gianna, and then also just seeing the hugs that you gave Andrea, who's the host that had you on the dream list. And here we are at CultureCon Live in the People Forward Network studio, getting to spend time together. So welcome. So
Thanks.
Glad that you're here. I'd love to hear your journey. How did you get to CultureCon?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Nikki. I'm so thrilled and excited to be here. This is my first CultureCon. And this came about because of relationships. Nick and Zach reached out to me, I think this was late last year, and said, oh, we've got this kind of cool conference called CultureCon and would love to talk to you about it and see if you're interested. And it was that personal connection that really made me lean in and say, okay, yeah, let's have that conversation. And ever since then, it's been amazing. It's been such a great journey.
Well, you and I are both here for our first time together. This is my first time as well. And I will tell you, setting up a podcast studio with 30 plus guests and prepping all of that, it is no small feat. So I will say that the relationship touches that Zach and Nick put in along the way to be like, oh, this is an absolute yes for us to do this. I think the common thread I just keep saying is like, this is a highly relational place of people that are truly, in the pursuit of building meaningful workplaces.
Yeah.
And I love that the topic that you chose to talk about today is employee engagement, because employee engagement is the focus to drive towards meaningful work. So going back, I love my story. We're not going to tell it today, but I know that there was a pivotal time in my life when I realized how important focusing on employee engagement was in my career. I remember the story. I remember the turning point. Again, we'll save that for another day. I want to hear yours. If that's the topic that you're choosing, there is a story there. What's that turning point when it started to really matter?
Yeah. Well, so we roll back a little bit and to contextualize my answer. I've been in the HR people space for about 20 years. And engagement has always been something that I've been passionate about. And frankly, in Silicon Valley, where I've grown up and cut my teeth, really, it's been an area of focus. I think that it was during the pandemic that I realized, oh my goodness, engagement is the key to keeping organizations thriving and together. So I think pre-pandemic, we had a world and environment where engagement was something that leaders and organizations viewed as critical to retention, right? So let's engage our employees because employees who are engaged, stay longer. I think during the pandemic, we started to realize, wow, engagement, mental health, making sure that people are able to thrive in these remote, disparate sorts of environments became the focal point like never before. And so that for me was this moment when engagement was crystallized in terms of it's a simple word, but how do you live it, breathe it, and bring it forth every day?
That's so good. And I just thought of something. I have a friend of mine that is going through a really big change in business, and the culture that she's used to as a leader it's struggling. And so I'm just curious, in your journey, when you've gone through those times where things change, and the vibe doesn't feel the same. Like, what is that advice that you have? I'm doing this for my friend. I'm going to call her later and tell her your answer. During that time, like, what is it for her to think, here's what to focus on, even in the hard times, to keep that employee engagement at the forefront, even if you're not feeling those effects that you love so much?
Yeah, I think the first step is listening. So doing a bit of a listening tour. So I like to say, seek first to understand and then to be understood. So before leaders and maybe your friend, before we get into action mode to actually start solving the engagement problem, let's pause, take a step back, and really understand what's the why underneath why we're having an engagement issue. Is it that people don't feel valued? Is it that people feel burnout? Is it that people don't understand their relevance in the overall scheme of the goals in the company? Is the culture changing? It could be any number of reasons, but we won't know what to do until we understand the reality of why we got to the engagement, concerns that we have today.
Such a good reminder. And you think about in all areas of life, you go through struggling times, and the power of a vulnerable, transparent conversation, even in the midst of the challenge, you can still feel connected to the mission and ready to keep going. It's that human connection that allows you to feel like we're in this together, And so I love that listening tour answer.
I feel like I'm constantly reminded of the resiliency of humans, right? Like we don't expect everything to go perfect all the time. I don't think there is any person listening, leader, IC, whomever, that expects that perfection is going to be offered on a daily basis. Yeah. I think what people expect is that their leaders are going to be transparent, that they're going to be vulnerable, that they're going to be open with them around here's what I know, here's what I don't know. Can you help me understand as we all walk together toward whatever the goals are?
Totally. Yes. So let's talk about the prioritization of employee engagement and, why it's so important and kind of like how it manifests out, if you will, both on the individual human side, right? But also the business side. I feel like so many times we get locked into like, we want to drive retention and we want higher productivity. But yes, all those things are great. But, how does engagement really matter at the human side of being a leader that gets to impact one human at a time, and then also talk about the business outcomes?
Yeah. What I love about engagement is I think about this symbiotic circular sort of relationship of two hands, holding each other like one on top, one on bottom. Because yes, there is that business component that CEOs and business leaders love, right? Engaged employees, they are more productive. They do stay longer. Engaged environments have higher profitability rates and all of that. So there's certainly that business aspect. But in order to get there, there is that human aspect. And when I think about engagement, I think about belonging. Do people understand how the mission of the company is also advancing whatever their mission is, whatever they want to do when they get older, whatever their higher purpose is in life? And so I think if we can build cultures and environments where people understand their relevance and they know that their voice matters in this organization, they're willing to dig deep on the hard days and to be resilient and to give all that they can give. So it really is this symbiotic relationship where one starts to truly feed into the other one.
I love that. And it makes me think of in my early 20s, I think I was 24, and it's around the time that employee engagement really started to matter. I read this book. It was gifted to me called The Dream Manager.
Okay.
And the whole idea was it was a fable story of a company that brought in a dream manager to work alongside every employee, understand their dreams, and then tie their role to their personal dream. Everybody had one dream. They shared it with others in the company. And you think about whether it's, being a leader that helps the person achieve a dream and connect it to the business, or, for the people that say, hey, to this leader, if you would have never believed in me or challenged me to do this, I would have never even thought I could do it, right? And just that personal, from being a leader that works on engagement every day, or, us being here today to inspire leaders to dig in and go deeper. It's like the lives that are changed in the workplace to really, help. And then the ripple effect of the dream that's achieved to then impact the families and impact the communities.
Yes.
Right? There's so much there.
Yes.
Oh, no, yeah. So good. So I'm curious, I love to challenge the thought of employee engagement is owned by both leaders, workplaces, and the employee. Can you give some examples of what that looks like for an employee to take part? Because it's like if someone's there and they're like, well, but the benefits just haven't gotten greater this year and this and that. It's like sometimes it all gets put on the employer and the leader. What's the part of the person, the individual person?
Yep. I'll use some personal stories and anecdotes. So I've worked in a variety of different kinds of organizations, private, public, CEO owned and run, VC, PE, et cetera. And I've had people come into my office and they have big emotions, which is what I love. By the way, I love the messiness of human emotions. And I've had folks come in and say, Gianna, this place sucks. I have no future here. My boss is terrible. Like just a litany of complaints and issues. And so what I like to do is listen to that and then also then turn it around to be action oriented, where it's like, okay, Nikki, here's what I heard you say, that you don't believe that you're being recognized. You don't feel like, you're having any impact here or that what you're doing matters. Have you had conversations with your manager and leader around the things that you are doing and how they do have impact? I like to turn this around so that folks realize, no, you own your career. In some ways, you are also responsible for contributing to culture and to the engagement of the workforce. We can't just sit back and expect our leaders to feed us engaging, culture building, and boosting types of programs and initiatives. We ourselves have to be action oriented. And that could be through ERGs. I love me some good ERGs. It could be through having your voices heard in various types of employee-run and led organizations that, speak to the senior leaders and things like that. But I think let's be part of the solution as opposed to just complain. So engagement is something we all own and are responsible for.
And I love to hear people say, I know I need to develop in this area, or I aspire to be this. Like, I want to get certified in this. Go approach, your employer, your leader, and ask for that. It's like,
Yes.
Yeah, I understand that your budget's just to, invest in yourself or this, but it might go over the budget. Go win it.
Yep.
Yeah. Go take ownership of that. And I think there's so much to be told around bringing forward ideas and solutions. As a leader, we're always looking for, rather than walking into the office with the emotional challenges and complaints, that's okay. And shed the tear and get frustrated. But what's your idea? What's your idea on how to solve it?
Exactly. And I think have the fears, the insecurities, the imposter syndrome. I have those too. I think part of what humanizes a workplace is stating and naming, this is what I'm coming into this with. These are my fears and concerns. And then saying, and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to find the courage to go ahead and to try to do XYZ, whatever it is. It reminds me of that quote that says, you miss 100% of the shots that you never take, right? And I think so often people stop before they even start.
Yes.
Right. And it's about starting, and it's about saying, I am imperfect. I've got all of these things that I'm scared of, but if I'm unhappy or if I feel like I could be doing more, let me try, let me ask, let me just do.
Yes. I would love to hear your story around a time. And just as a quick reminder, no matter what our title is, it doesn't matter if we've been there for 1 year, whatever the tenure is, right? We are humans, equal playing field here to own our journey. I'm curious, when did you come to a fork in the road where, man, it was just like you had to start to make a decision for you, whether you came and had a tough conversation or it was a pivot to take you to another place in your career journey?
Yeah. So, having worked in a variety of types of companies and cultures, I've got multiple examples that come to mind. The one that I am thinking of right now that I think is very relevant to your question is I've been in a situation where I joined an organization and the leadership team and I poured our hearts into creating a workplace that was thriving. So when I joined, we had a very high attrition rate, 30+%. Folks were just, when you talk to them, they seemed tired and fatigued and just disengaged. And over the span of several years, we named the issue. We created a lot of various programs and really fun, human-centered content. And lo and behold, that organization ended up being merged and acquired by another organization. And so in that, I saw change happening. I saw our culture changing and shifting. And to your point, I was faced with this internal question around, do I stay and be part of a culture and environment that doesn't fully feel like it's me? Now, very lucrative and promising on the financial side of the house, or do I pause here and go somewhere else where I think my values would be more in alignment with the company culture and goals and direction? That was actually a really hard decision. And, I landed at a place of, let me be true to me. I think that life is too short to sacrifice and compromise certain value-oriented core beliefs that we have. And so I did make that pivotal and hard choice to walk away from something that could have been incredible and amazing, and instead walk towards something that I think is a lot more aligned to who I am.
So you're glad you made the choice.
I'm very glad.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we should speak just for a moment to the people listening, because I know you're out there, that you're struggling every day to walk into that office, to open that laptop, advocate for yourself and make the change. And just a quick reminder, if you go and do a quick Google search of all the jobs that are available just in the country that you live in, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's just one next step that is just waiting for you, and the miserable wasting your life, no matter if it's like, but I feel locked in because of what I get paid or whatever. If you're not able to be the person you want to be at the dinner table, and you don't have the time to do the things that you want to do in your community, it's not worth it.
I
right?
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
One shot.
What I would say, just to tie in some of what we spoke about a minute ago, is I would say if you find yourself in a workplace or environment where you don't feel completely joyful and happy, then I would say first and foremost, try to do something about it, right? Like truly assess, take a step back and say, okay, can I impact this? Can I change the organization, my role, whatever it is? And if you do land at a place of, no, I don't think that I can do my best work here at this company, then yes, find the courage to look around at other places. One of the hardest things for folks to leave are people, right? The folks that we work with. And what I've learned having made some jumps is the relationships that we build with people, those transcend organizations. Those are what we carry with us. And so, yes, the nature of a working relationship may shift and change if you're not colleagues and coworkers with someone anymore. But guess what? Those relationships still exist, and that can still be a source of joy and connection for us, even as we transition into other workplaces.
So good. That's so good. And I think that a takeaway here is do the inner self-reflection to really understand if there is an opportunity where you are right now. Is there an opportunity for you to make a change? Yeah, I'll give you a quick example of a time that I felt very stuck and was not enjoying my work. I was in a quote unquote department of 3. One of the 3 would be, if you looked at any assessment profile, my hardest to get along with, right? Complete opposite. Everything's perfect, checks and balances. And I'm like, let's just go try something, and it just was not well received. What I had to realize was, if I could just figure out a way to communicate with this person and understand what it is that they're going for, and we meet in the middle, we could really change this. And I got some coaching advice there. It ended up being after that change, I would say it was probably 2 years I was there till I made another change. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. And we became friends, and we are still connected.
Yeah.
That person it was just hard to get along, but they see the world from a completely different lens than me. And that's what I had to bring to the table was like, I think it's just because we're not meeting in the middle. You're your way and I am. We're just so opposite.
Right.
But that's an example of like doing a deep dive inside to figure out what could I bring to the table to make the change. I don't think when a company doesn't stand for what you do, core values wise, there's not much you can do there,
Agree.
right? But,
Agree.
kind of looking around you and seeing what you can do. I love your point.
I love your story.
Oh, thank you. So before we go, I would love to start with, of the 2 things I want to ask, your challenge. What is the homework that you want to leave leaders with on this episode today that you believe, like, if you take action on this, you as a leader, you're going to experience more meaning, and you're going to leave an imprint or propel meaning for those that are around you. What is that challenge that you have for leaders?
So when I think about friction in workplaces, to the story that you just mentioned, I think it's often because we're not fully seeing eye to eye and understanding each other. I would challenge folks listening to find people or a person in the organization who has a drastically different view than you on a program, an initiative, or whatever, and sit down with that person, whether virtually or in person, and engage in a conversation where you're listening So we've talked a lot about listening. And I would encourage folks who are listening to us today to approach that conversation not from a place of pushing your ideas and why you believe 1, 2, and 3 to be true and your initiative or whatever it is, but approach this with a curiosity-driven mindset of really trying to understand why this person has the belief that they do or why they are so opposed to X, Y, and Z, right? And I think that these are empathy-building exercises, and it allows us to put ourselves in the shoes of others. And I think if we start to do that and people feel heard, we can start to then slowly change cultures and workplaces.
I'll take you up on that challenge to practice more curiosity in my life.
Yes.
I love that. I know when I do that, I'm a different person and I feel better about myself. So we want to wrap up. This is the final thing I wanted to ask in my concluding. I know that you just made a change.
Yes.
Obviously, we said a few minutes ago, whether that was the example or not, I just know that you're on a journey of climbing the staircase of betterment for your work experience. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that. It seems like the vibe that's going on right now with this change is really, really on a high. So tell us more.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, so I, a few weeks ago, joined an organization called Lattice. Lattice is an HR technology company. And our mission is to make work meaningful. And so when I think about being a chief people officer at an HR technology company, I mean, that's super exciting, full stop. But then also to work in an organization where human connection and culture and joy and happiness is at the center of everything we do is phenomenal. I am literally and truly drinking from a fire hose right now, but I am loving it. I'm loving understanding how our products make a difference in people's lives, how we can tweak and modify and add things to the product roadmap that make us even more joy-inducing in organizations. And being able to do this at scale is crazy exciting.
So awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Lattice is so fortunate to have a dream guest on the People Forward Network list for, I mean, I'm going to say it was probably a year before that happened, that booking, but just someone that's out there really leading the way and like walking the way as a People Forward leader. So I love that. And I love so much that the entire conversation and our experience so far at CultureCon has been the themes around meaningful work. They're the topics we've heard around joy in the workplace, about making change and being that change agent. And so I can't wait to get to know you more. And I'm so grateful for your time here today. And I know all of CultureCon will benefit from this episode with us. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Nikki. And thank you to CultureCon. One quick plug for CultureCon. This is my first CultureCon, as we talked about, and spending some time yesterday and this morning walking around. First of all, it's great and fun to be around people. I mean, HR folks are a different breed of folks, and being around your own kind is super invigorating and amazing. That said, I am just blown away by the curiosity mindset that people have, the kindness and warmth. This is a place where if you care about culture, CultureCon is the place to be.
Yes.
And I'm excited to learn from folks the rest of today and tomorrow.
Yes. And hopefully you'll get to see us at a next conference because we'll be coming back, right?
Yes,
For sure.
totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's a wrap on this episode of the official CultureCon podcast.
If you got something out of it, share it with a friend, a teammate, or a fellow culture geek.
And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.
And if you want more ways to stay connected and inspired, check out our upcoming events page for a full listing of webinars, workshops, and conferences.
You'll find the link in the show notes, and we'd love to welcome you to a CultureCon event soon.
Until next time,